The Idea Start podcast explores all things innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship, co-created by Idea Start and the Center for the Advancement of Teaching and Learning. Join us to move your ideas to impact with the University of Manitoba community.
Today on the Idea Start podcast, we are going to take a look at applied entrepreneurship education. We're joined by Debra Jonasson-Young, the Executive Director for Entrepreneurship at the Stu Clark Centre for Entrepreneurship at the Asper School of Business. And Debra has a very rich professional background and community involvement, and we're going to take a look at how she has used that to help shape the services, the supports that are, the resources that are available to support students in doing applied entrepreneurship education here at the University of Manitoba. Let's start the conversation. Debra Jonasson-Young, welcome to the Idea Start podcast. We are delighted to have you today. For our audience listening in, Debra is the Executive Director of the Stu Clark Centre for Entrepreneurship at the Asper School of Business. And we're so pleased to have you here to learn from you, to learn a little bit about you as well and your history and what you're bringing to this very important role at the University of Manitoba. So welcome to the studio.
Welcome, Debra.
Thank you very much, both Janine and Rajiv. I'm excited to be here and excited to be able to talk a little bit about the Stu Clark Centre for Entrepreneurship.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, how about before we get into all of that, let's find out a little bit more about you. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what intrigued you about this role?
What an amazing background. We all know what it is, but everybody needs to know this.
Well, thank you very much. I do have I come from private sector. I have a very large business background. I certainly worked my way up from a student right up to the top position in Manitoba, Northwestern Ontario with Eaton's. So over probably 400 categories of merchandise there.
Wow.
So I got to know everything from furniture to cosmetics to baby clothes and lawnmowers. And so I have a very broad background there. Ran a good portion of the Western Division for Eaton's for a number of years and multiple many hundreds of millions of dollars in revenues and about 2,000 employees. Yeah. After I left Eaton's, I came back to Asper and got my MBA in the short 11-month program. And then I went on to be VP of Video and Cable Systems, which is entirely different from retail. Was there for a few years and until it sold, and then went on as vice president of Shoppers Optical, a national optical retailer. Was there till it sold. Then I went on to Dufresne Furniture and Appliances as vice president. So lots of background in retail. You really learn a lot, and you get to know the customer and consumer behavior.
That's right.
And then joined the university 9 years ago as executive director of the Executive Education Center downtown, and came out to the Stu Clark Centre about 6 years ago. Also actively involved in the community. I'm sit on the board of the Associates, was also on the executive of the Institute of Corporate Directors in Manitoba, sat on the board of Manitoba Hydro, and sat for 9 years on the board of the Manitoba Museum, so have some fairly deep community experience and connections there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
you for that.
So impressive. Thank you.
So as you know, Debra, my undergrad was at the Asper School of Business in Entrepreneurship like 25 years ago. And so I remember actually when what is now the Stu Clark Centre was getting started. But can you tell us a little bit about that, like how it really came to be? And then like some like big highlights, maybe over its like quarter century of existence. Yeah. That's impressive.
Right. So the Stu Clark Centre opened in 1997. It was a vision of Izzy Asper, of course, at the time, and it was funded through the Asper Foundation, through an endowment there. And, of course, our own Mo Levy, who was involved with the Asper Foundation at that point in time and is now the director of Idea Start, was very instrumental in getting that actually set up. So it started in 1997, and I'll fast forward to 2008 when Stu Clark came on board. It was originally called the Asper Centre for Entrepreneurship.
I see. Okay.
And then Stu Clark came on board with another nice endowment. Both their beliefs in entrepreneurship as a pathway forward for students were very deep. So he came on board then, and the center was renamed to the Stu Clark Centre for Entrepreneurship. Probably some milestones would be our 25th anniversary, which was a few years back, and we had a big party for that. And also the fact that Stu Clark Centre has grown and morphed over a number of years and provides probably different services from what there were when you were there, Janine.
I think so, yeah.
But we've expanded and are very proud of how we support the entire university student community.
I think that's a mark of a great institution, that you evolve with time and you provide what's necessary, and it's relevant.
Yeah, and I think that Deborah, your experience in retail and understanding the customer helps to lead that.
Yeah.
What do students need now is different than what they needed
Absolutely.
then.
Absolutely, it's very different. And entrepreneurship models have changed significantly over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that Dragon Den model, but there's many other things like social entrepreneurship is a very big. Obviously a very big focus with a number of students going forward. So the evolution of not just what we do, but the evolution of entrepreneurship in our world has been huge over the past decade or so.
That's right.
Yeah. That's a good point, actually. How we teach it also has evolved too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
And the ecosystem also has changed in Manitoba. I'm sure you would have seen the evolution of that as well, right?
Yes. The ecosystem in Manitoba is fantastic. Before I came and was focused on entrepreneurship, it's a hard ecosystem to understand.
I see. Okay.
And it took me a little while to really get to know what it looked like.
Right.
What's involved in the university ecosystem for students, and then the other parts of the ecosystem that students can themselves evolve to.
That's right.
Like North Forge, Futurepreneur, Women's Enterprise Centers. So
that's right.
there is a very rich source of support for.
There's so much out there.
There is.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
For me, from the time I've been here, the Stu Clark Centre has been all about, applied entrepreneurship, if I may, right?
Yeah.
That's how you like to look at that, and it's so important because today increasingly students are taking to entrepreneurship as a new career alternative.
Yes.
And is all about supporting careers.
Yes.
And so in this applied entrepreneurship space, how would you say this Stu Clark navigates that?
Okay.
How does it deliver it?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, what is applied entrepreneurship?
Right. Yeah.
And it really is about being on the ground with students. It's boots on the ground. It's where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah.
And it really is being there one-on-one, coaching students through the process of entrepreneurship. If they start a business, how to educate them through that process. The applied part means in many ways you have to be there when they need it. You have to magically appear when they need help, and then you have to kind of back off so that they can apply that and get to understand and internalize that thought process. And then when they need you again, you just kind of have to magically appear.
That sounds to me like a superpower. and we are grateful, I guess, that Stu Clark Centre is here and there to do this.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about how you actually deliver applied entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So
to students.
I think there are a few different ways we look at applied entrepreneurship within our model. And of course, it's hard to do everything for everybody. But we kind of look at it in three categories: high touch, medium touch, and more of a tactical approach.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
High touch, medium touch,
Yeah.
tactical.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Right.
Super interesting.
Well,
I want to know more.
So some
what's high touch?
Okay, so some students really need a lot more hand-holding, or they need it right at the beginning of the process to
Right.
get going.
No, that makes sense.
And so, we offer a number of different things as it relates to high touch. Number one is certainly one-on-one coaching through our startup coach, who is Ben Isaacov.
Ben Isaacov.
And Ben has this amazing background and experience. And, he's been with us for about a year and has touched well over 100 students already in terms of actively coaching them through the process and through their businesses. And often students come back repeatedly.
Yes.
So they may come once, but they may come 5 or 6 times, depending on where they're at in the process.
Oh, and Ben's such a great guy.
He's
he's
very
such
knowledgeable.
An amazing guy.
Yeah.
He makes coaching look so easy.
Yeah.
He's super approachable. So students, if you haven't really met Ben Isaacov yet, and if you've got an idea, go ahead, meet him today.
Come see us. You bet.
Yeah.
You bet. He loves working with students.
Yeah,
so.
he does. Yeah.
And so
then-
maybe, Deborah, can I just confirm?
Yeah.
You're based in the Asper School of Business,
Yep.
but can any student go
Yes,
see Ben?
any student.
Okay.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, if faculty members or staff want to come and see us, we're there for anybody on campus. We primarily deal with students, both undergrad and MBA students, but anybody can come and see us.
Perfect.
For whatever reason. And do not at all feel intimidated. If you say, I don't have an idea, but I want to be an entrepreneur, come and see us. We'll talk you through it. If you say, I have an idea, but I don't know how to start, come and through us. We'll talk you through it. Come and see us. We'll talk you through it. And so wherever you're at in your journey, that's what we're here for. And I should also indicate that all of our services are free. We don't charge students anything. And we have something called Startup Tree, where they can go in and make an appointment with Ben online, and then either meet with him virtually or come and see him in person. And then, demand has been so great for his services that Ben is now working on more of a group coaching model and process.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that will help that he can intake more students at one point in time because...
So what's this group coaching model? Is it that there'll be multiple coaches at the same time or multiple...
It's identical actually to the one-on-one coaching because we're still putting students through a process.
I see.
What's your idea? Can you validate it? What's your marketing plan? All of that. But the group coaching one means more students come in at one point in time.
I see. Okay.
And the beauty of that is that they become peer-to-peer coaches too, which is
support
even
each
more
other.
valuable. Yes.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So that's
So that's
one.
evolution right there.
Yeah, yes, it is, definitely. And so that's the higher touch model, and it requires more time and more one-on-one. We've recently launched what we talk about as our medium touch model, which is a bit more group-based, and it's all virtual, and it is how to start a side hustle. And we're working with a fellow named Jeff Mitchell, and this all reports under Ben. Ben kind of oversees all of these pieces in the game.
Let's just take a step back, and why don't you tell us, for some of us who might not know, how do you define a side hustle? I mean, what's a side hustle?
Yeah. A side hustle, a side hustle is still starting a business, but you may be starting a business that is off the corner of your desk. You're working full time. You have this idea. You want to take it to market, and you're going to commercialize it. It won't maybe duplicate your full-time job, but it will provide you with more income, whatever. A lot of students start side hustles
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
they can do their work, they can do their schoolwork, and then come back and have a side hustle business. Also, side hustles sometimes for people more in rural communities and everything becomes important because it's their ability to break into a market in a small way and then start learning how to run a business and develop. So
That's amazing. Okay.
so it's different from, I'm starting a business.
Right.
And but the principles are all the same.
All the same.
Right.
So our How to Start a Side Hustle program, 6 weeks virtual, you have to apply. 6 weeks virtual, you're taken through the entire process. There are about between 20 and 30 students in each intake, and we will do 3 intakes a year. And again, no cost to students. The Stu Clark Centre picks up the cost on this. And what occurs there is they walk through the process. They have one-on-one coaching, of course, with Jeff at the same time, and they at the end of their sessions, they're able to continue in a group format with Jeff for 1 year after that.
Oh, really?
And again, free. And then when the next cohort starts,
So that there's follow-up, that means.
there's always follow-ups.
So you won't be left high and dry after
You're
you've done
not
the
left
course,
alone.
and
Yeah.
there is support.
Yeah.
That's that applied model again,
It
right?
is the applied model because
Exactly.
we're trying to get you through
Yeah.
to starting your business
Yeah.
in a
Yes.
way that makes it easier for you, and until you get up and running. And sometimes when you're scaling up, they'll also have that year of additional coaching
Coaching
and
and
they'll
support.
feed into that community where the first cohort fed into.
Wow, that
So,
looks like such a great model to have.
Yeah, it's
So you start
fantastic.
with your learning, you get follow-up support,
Yep.
and then you become part of a community,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Perfect. This is great.
Yeah.
But students, you must remember that it is free, but you still have to apply.
To apply.
Right, you have to apply. So,
Yeah.
just don't think too much about it.
Yeah.
If you've got an idea and you can do this while you're still a student, so go ahead and apply.
Right. The third way that
The more tactical touch.
it's more of a tactical, and
Yeah.
it's some students don't really want. They don't need somebody holding their hand or walking them through, but they wake up one day and they say, "Oh, you know what? If only I had a computer scientist to help me with my data. If only I had an accountant. If only I had a law student to help me, work through some of the legal issues. If only I had an engineer who could help." We constantly get questions like that where they really need tactical help. And we have a program or a platform called Startup Tree where students can now go in, and as if they have their business, they can go in and say, "Hey, is there a computer scientist out there who wants to get involved with us for a little bit so that we have we can call upon your knowledge and you can share that." Or conversely, if you're a student who really wants to get involved, you can actually go in and get your stuff in there and say, I'd love to be able to help you with your marketing challenges. So the beauty of this, again, is that the more we get students working with students, assisting them and helping them, when we talk about experiential models and collaboration, they learn these great competencies about how to work with one another, how to come in and offer your services and understand what the needs are and apply it appropriately.
This
So
is great. Let me just understand this a little bit.
Yeah.
So what we are saying is that, let's say somebody needs this specific help.
Yeah.
They have these
Yeah.
specific asks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like lawyers or computer engineers or anything like that,
Yeah.
which is more like a professional consultancy.
Yes.
And then they could come in and
Yeah.
take that help as
Yep.
they need it.
Yep.
Or the second scenario is that as students you would want to contribute,
Right.
right?
Right.
You have skills.
Yeah.
and now you feel like you want to be part of a team or you want to contribute in a
Right.
project
Or learn how to run a business.
or learn how to run a
Right,
business,
right.
and they could still come in.
They come in
And-
on
and-
on either stream, and the match happens.
So is this program called something, or
It's again called the peer-to-peer
Peer-to-peer
network. And if you go in through Startup Tree again, you come in through the Stu Clark Centre for Entrepreneurship
Right.
website, and then you link into the peer-to-peer network there.
That's
And
great.
so we're, it's in its infancy stage, so it's just starting to grow,
Mm-hmm.
and but we're trying to encourage.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
and the beauty about working with students is, I think it's one of the most incredible things we can do.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And then the second part of that one is we haven't fully developed it yet, but it will work on the same principle where we will have community businesses or business leaders. Think of a marketing organization who's willing to give up half an hour of their time a week to take a very specific question from a student on marketing.
okay.
That's
So
interesting.
yes,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of mentorship programs around like that. We right now do that on a regular basis. We hook students up, through BAN with other individuals who can assist them and help them, where we might not have the expertise or where they need something very specific. But being able to allow students to come into a platform and actually book an appointment with, maybe a lawyer, maybe an IP lawyer, maybe a marketing expert on branding or websites, all of a sudden that provides them with another place where they can go to solve their particular issues when they come up.
Wow, that's I think
Yeah.
amazing, and that's the need of the hour, right? Because
Yes.
a lot of students nowadays have ton of ideas, and maybe they're even working on it.
Right.
And all they need to do is go ahead, create their account on Startup Tree, folks. Startup Tree, and go to Stu Clark's website.
Right.
And
then
through then link up to
and
Startup
they'll be
Tree.
able to find it right in.
And then they'll be able to find it.
Rajiv, you're absolutely correct. Whether you're growing up internally within an organization or whether you have your own business, we all hit blockages at times. When we hit that barrier, that blockage, sometimes if we can't readily find the answer, we give up.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we find that answer, often it's a simple answer.
Yeah.
And when we find it, we're able to move on to do greater things. So we're trying to ensure that when the blockages occur, we magically appear and help our students again in terms of continuing on that path forward. So
Yeah, as I listen to you talk, Deborah, I think a little bit about some of these layers of benefits because, of course, we all want to see students launch successfully,
Yes.
right? Like, that would be wonderful, right?
Yes.
The impact of that. But there's also, of course, the learning component. We're a university, that's why they're here. But then there's
never-ending.
also this really beautiful experience as a
Right,
university
right.
student, right? To
Yeah.
meet other people,
It's-
that could
oh,
be a
yes.
rich part of your time
The
here on
community
campus.
part.
That's
Yeah.
right.
The
That's
community
right.
part.
Yeah.
It's incredibly important because we're not an island. We're not a silo. Throughout our careers, we all need people. We need to work with people. We need to collaborate. And so the more opportunity you have to do that right here when you want to, you learn the fine
Yeah.
art of what that's like. So,
Yeah, lovely.
yeah.
Thank
Really
you
nice.
so much, Deborah, for
And then,
sharing all of this.
finally, in all of that, it culminates in what we're now calling Innovate Mates, which is really, again, that community where all of these people who are working with us through the center can come into a larger community of all of the ones that have been touched by us and are currently in process, and can also have that peer-to-peer experience within a larger community through a variety of different things. A couple of those things are what we do with our webinar series. We do a webinar every 2 weeks, and it's housed online in our resource center. So
That's great.
you can either join us live as part of our community, or you can catch it later on when you have time to. We also have free resources on the website in terms of templates, business plan models, and templates and everything. Or we link through to those areas that can really assist and help
That's
students.
right.
So it
I guess
culminates in that.
the Innovate Mates is that
Is-
larger community.
Yes, which
Students can be part of that, take
Yep.
peer-to-peer help,
Yep.
Get access to resources.
yes,
Continue their learning.
exactly.
Continuous learning is such an
and we
important
did
thing as an
do-
entrepreneur.
Yes.
Talking about
Yeah.
learning, Debra,
Yeah.
I cannot let you go today without you talking about and telling our audiences about the wonderful educational programming
Yes.
that Stu Clark does in partnership with Asper School.
Yes.
So why don't you just tell us a little bit about that?
I will do that. I think what's important to understand is that the commercialization process, from an entrepreneurship perspective, is a bit of an art and a science, and it is called entrepreneurship. And so what occurs there is you can get formal education, through the Asper School because we're the business school. It is definitely where the formal part of the education occurs, and there are you can actually, if you're an Asper student, you can get an undergrad major or a concentration in entrepreneurship at the MBA level. Mm-hmm. But also there are a number of courses for non-Asper students that are also available for anybody else, as long as it works into your schedule. I think one of the most critical ones to talk about is there is a mandatory entrepreneurship course at the undergrad level, and there is a parallel course offered at the to non-Asper students that walks them through the same program about how to start a business. At the Stu Clark Centre, we actively support that by actually putting on a pitch competition 2 times a year for 350 students each time. So over the course of a year, 700 Asper and non-Asper students, and there's a lot of scientists and engineers and ag and art and recreational services and everything who come through that program. So there's a number of things from a formal education perspective that you can get through us. And both Ben, our venture coach or startup coach, and myself both teach. I at the MBA level, Ben at the undergrad level, which also, serves to hone our skills and ensure that we're speaking the same language at the Stu Clark Centre versus in class. And then the other thing I would say is the Stu Clark Centre worked very, very closely with the Faculty of Science to develop a entrepreneurial mindset course, which is, I think, will be running for its 5th time in winter this year. And Josh Saperzan, who was our startup coach at the time, helped to produce that and is still teaching it now.
I know the Faculty of Science, the Science Innovation Hub, the folks from there talk very highly of it.
Yes.
And the students who have been through that program, I know some of them, and they've their experience with the program has been really great.
Yes, I hear very, very good things.
That's right.
Yeah.
While we are talking about learning.
Yes.
I think you should talk about the New Venture Championship.
Oh,
it's coming, right? I mean, I can't wait for this edition, right?
Right. So the Stu Clark New Venture Championships are a international business plan competition that we have put on long before I started, and I'm pretty sure, close to 25 years now.
Really?
It continues to evolve and everything too. But it is an international competition, and Amy Jones is the mastermind behind that, and she puts on an amazing event. We have 32 teams that are chosen, 16 undergrads, 16 graduate level, and they're all vying for about $60,000 in cash prizes.
Wowza.
It's a wonderful high charged event with over 50 community judges coming in. Senior leaders from around our community who dedicate their time to come in and provide feedback and guidance to the various
Yeah, I'd
students.
love to get into this a little bit, Deborah, because I think these competitions are so interesting. Like, obviously, there's this learning component of practicing your pitch, but the prize money is like significant.
Yes, it is.
For businesses who maybe really want to launch. Like, can you share some maybe
This is
stories?
actually a funding source.
That's
for,
right.
For,
Yes,
for
it
people
is.
who are
It
serious
definitely
about
is.
starting something.
And the beauty, there are a number of competitions that occur around North America, and some of our students go down to those competitions
Right.
too. But the beauty of us is we don't tell students how to spend the money. So the top level grad team gets $20,000. The top level undergrad team gets $10,000, and then we have various prizes, from there, including social entrepreneurship focus prize. And so our students who win this money can use it for whatever they want, including working on their business. So we had actually a Manitoba student win the competition a couple of years ago, and he had a great idea for, you'll love this, marijuana packaging, which packaging it's hard to come by in Manitoba. He developed something that, and it's very highly regulated, and he did win the $20,000, and has put it into his business
Really? That's a great
to
story.
fund various things. So, and it's beautiful for students. They also get this amazing coaching from the judges. And what we also find is sometimes the judges are so enamored by the various business models and everything that they actually connect after in order to continue on with the relationship and assisting after that. So it really is it brings everybody together in this beautiful community of helping, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
And
It's
when
super
you
exciting.
hear some of these businesses, like they're very sophisticated. We have universities from all over North America. So Johns Hopkins, UBC, Waterloo, University of Florida, University of California, Arkansas, which continually wins. They are the ones to watch because they seem to always win prizes no matter what, and often first. I would definitely look to them to emulate whatever they're doing. And it's just an amazing time.
Yeah.
And these students, there's over 70 students by the time we're done, and they're all listening to these presentations, taking them in, and learning how to think on their feet, answer questions in a quick.
I know, I was there last time.
Yeah.
I can't wait to attend this one.
Yeah, good.
And this is so exciting. And the whole atmosphere there, right?
Yes.
I mean, everybody is like-minded. The kids get to meet different teams from different geographies.
Right.
Yeah.
They get to make friends. They get to spend time in our beautiful city. And
Yes, they do.
And also, it gives them exposure in terms of what are the different ideas and how different teams are approaching these ideas.
Right.
So it's great exposure.
Yeah, and I'd like to make one other comment, and that is, I think there's only about 3 universities in Canada that run these competitions. This is the largest business plan competition.
The largest
in
business
Manitoba.
plan competition in Manitoba.
Yeah, and we are, as a matter of fact, Amy does such a great job. We're renowned for what we put on. So it's worth it to either apply for, and if you can't apply for, come and watch it. because you'll be amazed.
Yeah, I know it's not the target audience, Deborah, but I've taken my youngest daughter, who's 10,
Yes,
to
you
all your pitch
have.
competitions because she's interested and she loves to watch. She loves to, vote herself who she would pick, and so
Yeah.
it's
it's
important
wonderful.
for the community and
Yeah.
really promoting entrepreneurship.
And just one other important thing that I forgot to talk about with students, and that is with respect to, the venture or the Startup Coach program itself, what Ben does on one-on-one coaching, has now qualified for the co-curricular record.
Oh,
So,
that's great.
yeah, so we're applying for a number of other things that we do to be a part of that program. So if you're looking at doing something, starting a business, it will now be recognized on your co-curricular record too. So I think that's another benefit at the University of Manitoba.
Absolutely. That's a big one.
Yeah, and that, I think it's important because, as we often say, these competencies are important whether you end up in a business or an organization, right? So that's a way to demonstrate to an employer that I've been building these entrepreneurial thinking
Janine,
skills.
You just hit that nail on the head because, I know as working in private sector and hiring people, that if somebody comes to the table with some kind of entrepreneurial background, we know they really understand the entire business process, and it really adds to marketability as it relates to the hiring process. Yeah.
So I guess what we're saying is students, even if you don't want to become entrepreneurs necessarily, but if you have an idea, go try it. You will pick the entrepreneurial skills, and it will help you with your career.
Go through the business planning process because you're going to understand what that looks like, and even if you work internally as an entrepreneur, you have a greater understanding of the bigger picture, and that's always critically important to employers.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, Deborah, thank you so much for joining us today on the Idea Start podcast. And we'll be sure to link some of your resources below the episode so our audience can explore further what's all available.
Well, I've greatly enjoyed it. Thank you to you, both Janine and Rajiv, and definitely to Idea Start for making these podcasts happen. I'm really thrilled to be here and really thrilled that you've highlighted the Stu Clark Centre for Entrepreneurship.
Well, as always, Deborah, pleasure is all ours.
Yeah, thank
you. Thank you. Like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you don't miss a new episode of the Idea Start podcast. Please connect with us and share your comments below. And let us know how the topics are resonating with you and what guests would you like to see featured.